This is Matt Hurt at Obsessive Viewer on Twitter.
This is Tiny at Obsessive Tiny on Twitter.
And this is ObsessiveViewer.com's The Obsessive Viewer Podcast. Welcome to The Obsessive Viewer. We're a weekly movie and TV podcast that covers a specific topic, be it genre, trope, movie, or show, each episode. You can find back episodes at ovpodcast.com, find the blog at obsessiveviewer.com, and you can also subscribe to the subreddit at r/obsessiveviewer. If you want to help support the podcast, go to patreon.com/obsessiveviewer, or you can simply leave us a rating and review on iTunes. It helps us out a lot. And joining us in the studio today for his 8th guest appearance on the podcast, yes, wow. Mr. Robert Fekkes.
Hello, this is a lovely studio you have here.
Yes, so much kitty litter and cat litter.
And cat.
And cat.
A lot of cat here. A lot of cat.
Yeah, she's...
She makes her mark.
She does.
Quite literally.
But this is your 8th guest appearance. So that's awesome.
You win nothing.
Absolutely nothing.
Except the adoration of our fierce fans.
Right.
Good.
Yeah.
I hope to be getting panties in the mail from...
only a matter of time, really.
I know.
Well, I'll see how much postage is, and I'll go to the post office.
My address is 1410 North Lyndhurst now.
Oh, my God.
Is that the...
It's the police
Police
Is that the police station? Good God. Anyway, and it is also storming during this, which signifies spring, which is a good way to introduce the spring of
spring into this, maybe
spring. Oh man, that's so great. That's our signal to spring into the discussion. That was too perfect. That was too perfect, Fekkes.
Yeah.
Anyway,
that's one word.
We'll Okay, I wanted to run through 8th guest appearance for listeners who aren't familiar with Fekkes' work on the podcast. He's been on 8 episodes, our Interstellar episode, College Movies, Poltergeist, a bunch of other ones. And we're glad to have you back.
I'm glad to be back. Yeah. It's always enjoyable.
It is. It is always fun. And our mutual friend Sam was on the podcast recently.
That was an interesting episode.
Yeah.
I hated Full House growing up, so I didn't watch Fuller House, nor will I. But his extensive knowledge of Full House always
it's peculiar.
It is very peculiar.
Yeah. But yeah, that was a fun episode, and so we'll have to have him on more. But today on the podcast, we're going to be reviewing Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. But before that, I kind of want to do this kind of rundown of Zack Snyder movies, because in the past, Fekkes and Tiny, you guys have both been Snyder defenders in the past on the podcast.
Yes,
still am.
And I'm curious how this movie affects your guys' view of him. But first, I kind of want to go through his filmography and see what you guys think about each one, because for better or worse, before I went to see Batman v Superman, I watched 3 movies of his all in a row. So I want to make that worthy of the time I spent by having a brief segment on his career in this episode. So I don't remember which one came first, but
his first film was Dawn of the Dead.
Was it? Okay. Yeah. Dawn of the Dead, which I loved. It was a fantastic remake.
Oh, as far as remakes go, you can't get better.
Right.
Agreed.
Yeah, he did a great job.
Mm-hmm.
Even taking the form of Fast Zombies, which I'm not a particular fan of.
Right.
Still love that movie.
Yeah, it came shortly after 28 Days Later, and that the whole Fast Zombie craze.
It was kind of in.
Yeah, it was after, right?
It was after, yeah.
Yeah, that was right. It was a couple years after.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of wonder how much of the quality of that movie has to do with James Gunn co-writing the script.
True.
I didn't know James Gunn co-wrote that script.
Really? Yeah. Oh yeah. He co-wrote it, and it's a tight script.
It's good pace.
It's very good pace. It's very fast paced, and it's really. Because Fast Zombies.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Yeah.
I'm not doing well here. No, it was a lot of fun. I own it. Proud to own it. It's a Shocktober staple. in the Hurt apartment / podcast studio. Yeah, and then after that was 300 after
300.
Yeah, 300 was
yeah.
next.
Which I saw once when I was kind of tired.
Oh man,
Yeah, I haven't really watched it since.
love 300.
Really?
Yes.
Does it hold up for you guys?
It really does, because
It does.
you know you have it's fantastic for what it is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you know, don't go in expecting an Oscar movie or a love story. It's a it's a very brash, manly, testosterone-fueled action movie where people get slaughtered to death, and it has super tacky dialogue. But that's what you want.
I mean, it's what it fits the motif though, and
It does, yeah.
I remember coming out of that, and I'm pretty sure I wrote a Facebook post of, after seeing 300, I now want to be a Spartan warrior, and it made you. It was just such a great guy movie.
Yeah.
It was so much fun, and it's still a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I postered it. It's postered.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. That's very prestigious.
In the workout room, no less.
Oh, that makes
inspiration,
sense.
I
That's right.
assume. Yeah.
That right next to My Little Pony. I like it.
Yeah.
Anyway,
There's nothing wrong with being a brony.
I'm not saying there is. I'm
Okay.
just saying
All right.
that your tattoos speak for themselves. Or your mounds of fan fiction
There is,
written.
when you bring up your potpourri, there is a brony subject I want to broach with you over your potpourri.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I don't know if you are aware of what has transpired with that, but we'll get to it.
Wow, we'll get to that.
Okay.
I'm very curious about that too.
Okay.
And that's gonna ruin the first sentence I say about what I'm bringing up for potpourri. Like it's gonna put a bad spell on it.
No.
It is. Oh, it is. It is. Anyway, more on that in about an hour. But yeah, 300. It just didn't really do much for me. It maybe part of that's the context I saw it in. Maybe part of it is that, I mean,
You should give it a second try.
Yeah.
I could pop that. That's one of the movies for me. I could pop it in any time. And
Really?
Yeah, I love that movie.
But you guys, I don't know. Maybe it's just I'm not into that type of movie. Like, sure, yeah, pure testosterone stuff. Also, and we'll get into this as we move.
And it's fun to see
along this
Lena Headey
list.
have sex with someone that's not supposed to be your brother. So
True, yeah.
Speak for yourself. I don't know what that's supposed to mean. That's messed up. Anyway, yeah, I don't know. And again, I'll get more into this as we move forward. But Zack Snyder's style, the way he shoots action,
very visual director.
very visual director, and very, very much overly dependent on slow motion in every fast.
I see. Yeah, in 300, it's very slow motion, but he's not that centric around slow motion in every single one of his films. And I feel like that whenever he does a slow motion film, there's like, oh, Zack Snyder's doing slow motion again. It's like, look, slow motion does fit sometimes.
It does, but we'll get into this as we get further along. But I watched 3 of his movies and before Batman v Superman. And
Well, you watched 2 of his. You watched 2 Batman.
I did. I did.
I think he overuses it a little bit. But
Anyway,
sometimes I think it does suit the scene very
I'm
well.
leaving.
we'll get more into that as we move forward. So Watchmen, with the actually very, very well done opening credit scene that's all in slow motion. Moving along, Sucker Punch, all slow motion in the beginning. Anyway, Watchmen.
Watchmen's one of my favorite comic book movies of all time.
I wanted to rewatch it before seeing Batman v Superman. I wanted to put it in the roster because I really like it. I own it on Blu-ray, and I'm looking at my shelf and stalling. It's on there somewhere. But yeah. Tiny, what do you think of Watchmen?
I love the director's cut. The theatrical,
The
theatrical
yeah,
version. Yes. It's kind of good. But I think he just pulled the frames off of the comic book, the graphic novel.
Do you say that in a criticism? Or?
No, in a in a admirable way.
Okay,
because that's hard to do.
Absolutely.
People think it's easy to adapt something. It's not, because you have to follow it strictly. And I think he did, and that's a huge accomplishment. And
comic books in themselves have such a unique storytelling method.
Right.
It doesn't transfer to film that great at all.
Yeah.
I was listening to, I think it was the Slash Filmcast was reviewing Batman v Superman, and they had Drew McWeeny from Hitfix.com on, and they were talking about Watchmen. Watchmen, and he mentioned that Zack Snyder, he's constantly at this kind of this his constant struggle in his career is that he's trying, like he wants to take an adaptation or take a comic book and adapt it to film, but he wants to do it in a way that adapts like frame, like I forget the way that he phrased it, but it was something like it's the discrepancy between taking a frame from a comic and a frame of a film, because in a comic the frames are designed to encompass as much of designed to have as much emotion of the scene in one still image,
right.
While on film it's a moving thing, and it's kind of a constant struggle for Zack Snyder to adapt that that way, and he came closest to that with Watchmen, which he did a phenomenal job.
Yeah, I agree with that assessment.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. But yeah, so that was just an interesting analogy or correlation that I didn't really pick up on because I'm not too smart about it. So yeah, I really liked Watchmen. I need to watch it again. It is on my Blu-ray collection there.
It's also postered.
Nice. Nice to Homeward Bound: The Incredible Journey. I don't know.
You know what? I own a poster for Alvin and Chipmunks 3 Road Trip.
Really?
Oh my God. The only reason I do is because we went to the Winter Beer Fest at the State Fairgrounds, and the film Brew House was had a stand up there, and you spun a wheel and you won something. And the posters were that movie with Chris Pine that just came out where he's
The Finest Hours.
Yeah, Finest Hours. Yeah. And I was like, oh, screw that! I'm taking a road trip.
Nice. I need to get posters in here.
You should.
I really
some
should.
bare walls in here.
There are some very bare walls. There's some tiger walls, some lion walls. That's so done. Next up on the list of Zack Snyder movies, and we'll go through these pretty quickly because we're eating into time for the review. This is the first one of the 3 that I watched in the lead up to Batman v Superman. It's Legend of the Guardians: The Owls of Ga'Hoole.
Man, it was such a forgettable movie for me.
It is. Yeah, I was really tired when I saw it, so I was fighting sleep. It wasn't the optimal condition. I was laying in bed watching it on my tablet. And again, it's okay, so I understand, yes, he has a distinct style for shooting action scenes. He slows them down to a snail's pace for whatever reason, stylistically it's appealing, but it doesn't do much for the tension of the scene, because you just see it's so aggravating. But this is an animated movie where he can do pretty much anything in the realm of digital effects and all that, and still it seems like every single action scene in that was just slowed down to this really, really slow motion stylistic thing. And I also had another problem with the movie as a whole, because this is the start of where I honestly don't think that Zack Snyder knows how to tell a damn story, like, at all. Because he starts out, it just jumps into this whole mythology about owls and guardians.
There is a ton of mythology at the start of that movie.
Yeah. It's like the first line, like the first scene of dialogue is just dialogue about the backstory, and then they don't juxtapose that with characters, really. They don't develop the characters that well or anything.
In fact, I can't even. I've seen it. I can't even tell you what it's about anymore.
Yeah.
I really can't.
Neither can I.
Yeah, I saw it last Friday, and I can't really speak much in much authority about it. It was so weird because they established this mythology. They set up the inciting incident or whatever about one of the main characters. Something, he gets captured, or I don't remember, but then suddenly there's this blue like force of energy it was so weird and so not what I expected, and just
Did he write that?
I think he adapted it.
Yeah, it was adapted from a novel or series of novels or something.
Yeah,
because Sucker Punch is his only original thing, which is a good segue to
Sucker Punch.
The movie that made me dread seeing anything else from Zack Snyder going forward. Fekkes, I think you are an apologist for this, or
I am
a guilty pleasure.
A guilty pleasure, not an apologist, because I feel like an apologist will try to defend the movie. I won't try to defend it. The writing is bad, but to me, it was fun. It was fun to watch. That's all it was to me. Visually, it was a stunning visual film, and he's good at that. Yeah. Vanessa Hudgens is stunning.
Many of the ladies in that movie.
Many of the ladies,
right.
yes. It's a story, but it's a lot of good action sequence. It's fun, and I do like the old guy that reappears throughout the
Scott Glenn.
Yeah, he's fun in the movie too.
It's so interesting because seeing him pop up, I just recently watched Daredevil, obviously.
Yeah,
so
and he plays
in my
Stick.
brain, I'm thinking Stick, and it's weird because when he's saying like these sage this he's a wise man and he's saying all these sage things about how they can survive, and it's kind of similar to Stick as a guardian. So I'm like thinking like I'm trying to like in my brain I'm like is he like is this character blind too? It's weird. I don't know. But Tiny, what did you think of Sucker Punch?
I think Sucker Punch is the combination of a really good idea where like it's kind of about psychological escapism and part of the movie takes place inside a girl's head, kind of. Right. That's a cool idea, but it's combined with a 13-year-old horny kid's masturbatory fantasy.
And that's exactly right.
It just drags it all the way down, and that other idea about psychology is just completely unfulfilled. Yeah. And it's just really unfortunate. And I agree with Matt's previous statement that I just don't think he's a very good storyteller. I think visually he's a good director. I just don't think he's a storyteller.
I wouldn't even say that. I would say that friend of the show, Brandon Yoder from Billy and Brandon Watch Movies, he commented on a post on Facebook that I posted about Zack Snyder, and he said that he thinks that Zack Snyder would work best as a cinematographer or something that he doesn't have total control over anything. And I agree because like on Sucker Punch my blurb or my little mini review I put on Letterboxd is that in concept this movie could have been a clever story steeped in social commentary with a strong feminist message, much like what Tiny said. Unfortunately, Sucker Punch came from the mind of Zack Snyder, who I'm convinced may be a moron.
That's a bit harsh. I don't think the guy's a moron.
Well, we'll get into this with Batman v Superman here in a bit, but because have you read any of the stuff that he said after the movie?
No.
Okay, he comes across like he is a guy who I don't know anything about him on a personal level, but anytime like there's an expectation when you see an interview with a filmmaker, someone who spent months and months of their life, years of their lives working on this piece of art that they're putting out to the masses. They're going to be eager to talk about it. They're going to have a lot to say. His statements about Batman v Superman are basically boiled down to, we thought that this would be cool. And it's like he doesn't have anything of substance to say. It's more just a nitpick on my part, but it's like, it's such a weird thing to read his comments on it because it's just kind of hollow and empty. But again, with Sucker Punch, again, slow motion in everything.
Yeah, it's pretty slow motion heavy.
Yeah, and not only that, but like Tiny said, it's about kind of a psychological escapism, and there's like dream worlds within
dream world within a dream world.
Yeah, and it's
Inception stuff.
Right. It's unique. That's a unique premise, but also for about 3/4 of the movie, all the action set pieces, even the one that the like World War II zombie steampunk thing or whatever, the one that didn't use that much slow motion, which I was totally on board with for that one. Like it didn't seem like there were any stakes to it because it wasn't real. But then 3/4 of the way into it, it changes slightly. But even still, it kind of felt like I just didn't get that they were in, because each dream sequence or each action sequence is for the most part a distraction from her doing weird sexualized dances for men
to distract the men for their mission.
Yeah, and even that is another layer of a dream world. So even that's not a real thing, but it's also like that. Like I know that she's not going to get killed. No one's going to get killed when in reality, or when in her version of reality, they're just dancing on a stage.
Agreed.
Yeah, I don't know. It was frustrating. And then I liked Oscar Isaac in it though.
Yeah, I always forget that Oscar Isaac was in that movie, but he does a good job for what he has to work with. So
yeah,
I mean, it's like I said, it's a shit story.
Yeah, it was just. I just thought it was awful, and it just reinforces my opinion that he doesn't know how to tell a story again, because it's overly convoluted. It's very hard to get into because it opens with a 3 to 4 minute slow motion music video basically that just it tells like the backstory, but you don't have any context for it. It's just
but I don't know how you can say he doesn't know how to tell a story when Watchmen, he tells a brilliant story with Watchmen. Now, granted, it's an adaptation. The story was there to begin with, but he does a great that's probably one of the most difficult graphic novels to translate into a film, and he did it. He did a great job, in my opinion.
Right, and I agree, but again, like you said, he had a blueprint there. Like with Legends of the Guardians and Sucker Punch, or I assume Legends of the Guardians probably has a blueprint too, but with Sucker Punch especially, like this is him. This is all his original stuff.
But that's the only one of his that is of an original. Like that's the only thing he's written.
Right. That's true. That's true. Then the last one before Batman v Superman is another one that I have qualms with about the storytelling and how he did it. But Man of Steel,
I defend Man of Steel.
See, and Tiny, what'd you think of Man of Steel? We reviewed it in episode 7 of the podcast, and we kind of ripped it apart. But
we kind of did, and mainly I think it was a lot of that ripping was you and Mike. You guys kind of hated it to an extent.
Yeah.
I wasn't crazy about it, but there was still a lot of it that I enjoyed.
Sure.
But you know, the major themes I think were dropped. Again, the story and some of there's just so many issues with there's plot holes and stuff, and it's just really bothered me a lot.
Have you had a chance to revisit it since then?
I did. I've seen it twice, and it pretty much nothing improved on the second watching for me.
See, I'm kind of different with that. I really didn't like it the first time. I really didn't. I thought that the nonlinear, the way that the movie divulged Clark Kent's backstory was just like and had unnecessarily nonlinear storytelling for it. It jumps between him and as a kid.
I liked seeing how that framed his decision making as an adult and coming into his powers. So I appreciated that. I'd like to see the juxtaposition between what's going on, the trials he faced as a child with these abnormal skills, and then how the teachings from his father kind of affected him down the line. So I liked it. I liked the scattered storytelling in that manner.
It would have been better if it was more cohesive though for me, because it's like, okay, he saves them from an oil rig, and that's great and everything, and then he's a kid getting picked on, and then he's a kid saving a school bus full of people. It's just basically him saving people, and then it shows him as a kid.
But they're showing the consequences of saving. Like they're trying to. Dad's saying, "Hey, you're gonna have to make a choice. What's it worth to you to save these people?" And in the end, he decides that whatever the consequences that would happen to him are overrun by the benefits that would happen from saving these people. His dad's kind of saying at some point, he's like, maybe you should let him die because who knows, what will happen when people find out about you. And, it's embedded in Clark Kent that, no, I can't do that. I have the power to save these people. I'm going to do it regardless of the consequences against myself, which goes to his detriment in the next film.
Mm-hmm. I just wish that was told better. Cause I
just told it to you.
You did it in a much better way than Zack Snyder did.
I disagree. I disagree.
Well, I mean, because the whole thing with him saying like, well, you need to make a decision if kid Clark Kent is like, should I just let him die? And then Pa Kent's like, yeah, maybe. And I'm like, those are kids in a school bus, man. Like
those are kids in the school, but that's his child. Like he's an alien being, and he is his child, and who knows what's going to happen to this alien being once the world finds out that he exists. He's right. He says
that's true.
Once the world finds out about you, you're going to change the world. I mean, you're proof. You're the answer to the question is, are we alone in the universe? That's a huge, huge burden on this child, and he doesn't want to see him have that burden at the age of 10.
Yes, and the problem with the problem I have with it is that it it was communicated more that oh, the world is not going to accept you accept who you are, and that's a perfectly fine premise to throw into, or conflict to throw into the character. But I wish that it was more of the I'm afraid of what it's going to happen to you as my son kind of thing. Like you put a slight emphasis on that, and there was none of that in the movie for me, in my opinion. Also, I had a huge problem with the tornado scene.
I don't love that scene. I'm not going to defend that wholeheartedly because they could have found a better way to make that death occur.
Yep. It just the logic of everything and everyone in that scene just didn't fly with me. It was a I can't think of a good pun for that, but
swinging them.
It was just kind of a.
It was a bad plan of steel. Almost, not quite.
It was. I don't know. I didn't feel like there was a whirlwind of emotion for me in that scene. I don't know. Anyway, but yeah, so Man of Steel, and then also just.
But there is a consequence to that, and I feel like that point, and as not as great as that moment was, it shows Clark what's the consequence of hiding his power, and the consequence is someone he cares about could die, and he decides to abide by his father's wish, not showcase what he can do, and the result is he loses his father for the rest of his life. So that kind of molds him as to what he's willing to do and when he's willing to showcase what he can do. So.
Sure.
Could they have had a better scenario? Sure.
Yeah. The scenarios, I think, probably, when revisiting it this time around, I think the scenario is what I have the most problem with, especially since right before that scene, it was basically like Jonathan Kent's like, oh, we're a farmer, I'm a farmer, and like there's an emphasis on like, okay, he has a family he's caring for and everything like that. It's like, but he's still, like, I understand the conflict of like, okay, he's still like sacrificing himself for Superman's powers to be concealed and all that, but it's also like you're kind of a dick for leaving behind like your family with all of this other like with the burden of bills and everything and the farm and all that.
Oh please, he had insurance policy for like $1 million. They're fine.
Fair enough. But and then
in fact that's why he does like don't do it. Your mom and you are going to be rich,
right? But I don't know. I just don't like Zack Snyder's style. Like that sequence happens about midway through the movie, or about an hour into the movie.
Is that far into the movie?
Mm-hmm. And we're still getting flashbacks here and there.
I don't know the problem with flashbacks.
That was a flashback. I just had a problem with it that much. And then also about 45 minutes into the movie, this was one of my bigger grievances with the movie is, and it might be slightly nitpicky, but the beginning of the movie is 20 to 30 minutes on Krypton. That's fine.
I love the Krypton scenes. Loved it. I thought it establishes Jor-El really well.
Yeah.
It establishes the
awesome.
world of Krypton, which we've never seen the world of Krypton on film.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I thought stylistically it was beautiful. I loved the conflict. I love General Zod. I love Michael Shannon's General Zod.
Mm-hmm.
I thought he kills it.
I thought he was good too.
Yeah. And so I like seeing the setup as to why General Zod has become such a zealot. Mm-hmm. So I have zero problems with the Krypton introduction.
I liked it. It felt a little bit derivative of J.J. Abrams' 2009 Star Trek. Just the style of it just felt like it just seemed like that.
I didn't see any lens flares.
I don't know. There might have been.
There might have been. I don't know.
But also my
J.J. Abrams visited set that day.
Right. My big qualm with that though is 47 minutes into the movie, Clark Kent goes to he talks to a hologram of Jor-El. And Jor-El spends a way too much time basically telling him everything that happened in the first 20 minutes of the movie. Like, that did not need to be in the movie at all.
And I get your complaint on that, but what are they supposed to do? Like, cut, 10 minutes later?
Yeah, pretty much.
Thank you, Jor. I understand now.
Show them having a dialogue, like, I'm your father or whatever, and then cut back to him, and then he's explained everything to him. That's
hard to do. I don't know. That's awkward.
Maybe if you're Zack Snyder and you have no talent. So then the big problem with Man of Steel, and that goes into our review of Batman v Superman, because we're getting long-winded on this Zack Snyder stuff.
But you need to be on Man of Steel to go into Batman v Superman.
Yeah. Is the end. The last hour and 10 minutes are all action, and it's it's so sloppy to me. Like the actual action, the destruction porn is okay, I guess, but like there's an element of it that like, okay, Lois Lane is brought onto the ship for no reason whatsoever, just so that she could be on the ship. General Zod requests her to be on the ship.
Sure, yes.
No explanation. There's a whole big moment.
We like the redhead.
There's a whole big thing where there's something is on the ship. I don't even remember what it was. It was just basically like this thing is going to blow up everything kind of thing, and it's a ticking time clock. They're about to it's what's going to stop the Earth creation or whatever the terraforming device was. Yeah. But like, and there's like, oh no, it's supposed to go in, and it's this big tension-filled thing, and all it is they just need to move it to the side a little bit, and then it went in fine. And it was that's just
that was
so
on
dumb.
that was on the airplane, right? When
Yeah.
They were about to drop. The action sequences I love. I thought they did an amazing job of showing the speed of these superhumans on Earth, like the fight, like showing how fast they were striking. I thought that was beautifully done. I thought it was great. The action porn, I get what people are saying while I was like, oh, he went to Michael Bay's. Like, yes, but I see the reasoning behind it because they're
Kryptonians,
right? This is Superman's first big fight. Okay, he doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't know the extent of what he can do, and it just so happens that it happens in the middle of one of the biggest cities in the world. And so there's going to be destruction because he doesn't have an awareness of his actions, and that leads up to the disdain for him by certain people.
Right.
Batman being one of them.
I actually made that same argument, I think, pretty much in our review of it when it came out, because I agree with that. I really enjoyed the action a lot.
The action looked cool, but all I'm saying is that he took Zod from farmland directly to Metropolis.
Well, that's what I'm saying. He doesn't understand the extent of what he can do. He doesn't understand the extent of what a godlike fight would do to a city. So this is his first time getting into a super powered fight.
Plus, wasn't that where like they were going to do the terraforming anyways?
Yeah, that's where the terraforming machines happen in Metropolis and in.
On the other side of the globe?
Indian Ocean.
Yeah, but it was I can't remember if that stuff started before the main fight.
The fight happens in Smallville.
Right.
The fight ends with Zod going back up to the ship. He goes to fight, destroy the terraforming machine, and then the fight comes back to Metropolis once they're going to destroy the world. There's a word for it.
It's a dumb word too. It's
World Engine or something.
World Engine.
That's exactly what it is.
Nice,
I don't think it's a super word. I think.
I don't know. It's kind of silly, but
you're silly.
Anyway. So all of this is to say that I came to Batman v Superman not wanting to. Not to say that I went into Batman v Superman wanting to. I was hoping to like it because I am a big fan of what Marvel's doing. I like the idea of expanded universes and movies that tie in together because, and I was thinking about this before, I'm not a comic book fan. I haven't been into comic books or anything like that, but seeing the comicization of the comic book genre on film, like all of these things tying together and all of everything tying into one another. There's it feels like the TV shows are, the Marvel TV shows are just kind of like little bits and pieces here and there that tie into the movies. I like that. I like that it makes the comic experience accessible to me in a medium that I love. And I would love to see DC accomplish that themselves. So I went into Batman v Superman hoping to love it.
The problem DC has is they handicap themselves out of the gate. Marvel, you got to think Avengers and Justice League are kind of synonymous.
Mm-hmm.
So Marvel had 5 films to lead up into the Avengers. DC handicapped themselves like we'll do 2 films.
They did.
True.
So
yeah. In
the second film, they have to fit so much into it in order to lead up into the Justice League. So they did themselves a disservice, and I think they did it in order to get the movies out there and to get the revenue flowing, which I'm not on the board of executives for Warner Brothers, but they would have benefited more from a slower build up.
Right. We'll talk more to that. I think here in a bit, but I do have some thoughts about that as well. Let's just go around the horn and say what our general thoughts were on the movie. Tiny, what did you think of Batman v Superman, and what was your expectations going into it?
I had middling expectations going into it, and I think it got super close to meeting those. I mean, it got bat close to.
Did you say bat close?
I did,
bat
because I just said super close. I stole Matt's joke.
You did.
Thank you. But you already posted it to Facebook.
I did.
So. But I mean,
respect.
I kind of have a middling opinion of it. I think it was better than Man of Steel, and I think it did some things very well. But I think it did a lot of things poorly as well, or just okay. In the grand scope of the whole Zack Snyder discussion, I still feel like I can defend him to an extent, which we can get into later. But I'm not enthused by the announcement of his work anymore. Not really, anyways. Maybe if he's doing something different, I don't know. But I thought the movie was okay.
Sucker Punch too.
Yeah, exactly. I probably would have given Man of Steel like a 5 out of 10, maybe a 5.5. But this I'd give a solid 6 out of 10.
Nice.
Yeah.
Fekkes, what did you think?
Well, my expectations going in were high, just because I thought the lead up to it was great, the previews, and I enjoyed Man of Steel far more than you two did. Mm-hmm. So I had higher expectations. I love the film. I recognize that it's not perfect. The criticism that it gets, I understand, and I can't help but just say I enjoyed the films. Like, I see what people are saying, and I have my own critiques of it as well, but I still thoroughly enjoyed it. It has a lot of issues, and we'll get into those issues, but it didn't detract from my enjoyment of the film. If I had to give a numeric to it, I'd give it a 12 out of 10, I think. No, I'd probably give it a 6.5 to a 7 out of 10 for me.
Nice.
Okay.
But I still thoroughly enjoyed it.
Nice. I went in wanting to love it, as I said before, but Zack Snyder being attached to it, DC clearly like trying to play catch up immediately with Marvel, and I mean I respect them for not doing like the slow build up to like following the Marvel formula and doing like each individual movie leading up to Justice League and then doing that. Like I appreciate that they're trying to strike their own tone and their own style and their own format basically. I just think it's wildly like the wrong move across the board.
I respect what you're doing. It's wrong, but
yeah, exactly. But having said all that, and I went into the movie. I like the trailers. It was kind of a mixed bag. The most recent trailer, the probably one of the final trailers or one of the big trailers. We did a bonus episode where we talked about it last year. It gave me so many reservations that I didn't have before. Lex Luthor looked silly. I didn't like that they just gave away Doomsday in the trailer. I thought that was dumb that they would do that in the trailer, and then it made me fear that it was going to be overloaded with a bunch of stuff. And when I came out of the movie, I was surprised how much I enjoyed it. It's not a great movie, or it's like you said, it's not a perfect movie. It's not a great movie. I don't even know if it's a good movie. I really don't.
Well,
but there were moments where I just had a grin on my face. I thought that some of the action elements were maybe some of the best I've seen out of Zack Snyder. At least in the 15 hours before the movie when I saw 3 of his 3 most recent movies. But I thought that it was it had elements to it that I really enjoyed, and we'll get more into this as we go into the review, but one of the biggest complaints is people were saying that the Justice League tie-ins were silly and dumb and didn't need to be in the movie, and it just seemed like they were just doing that just because they were establishing it. It made me excited to see the Flash movie. It made me excited for Wonder Woman. Something about it it wasn't.
I wasn't wild about cyborgs.
Yeah, that one I
wasn't wild about that one. But the other ones, I thought Flash's was cool. Mm-hmm. I thought that was fun. Aquaman's was pretty neat.
Yeah,
it was all right. But I loved Wonder Woman.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
She was the highlight of the movie, I think.
Absolutely.
For me.
Not for me. Not for me.
Okay. Yeah. She was a highlight of the movie for me.
Okay.
But yeah, so numeric value I would give to it I'd probably give Man of Steel maybe first viewing I would have given it 4.5 out of 10. Yeah, but the second viewing I appreciated a little bit more, so I'd maybe give it a 5 out of 10. This one I'd probably give pending a rewatch maybe a 6 out of 10. Because it wasn't bad.
Well, let me ask you this, and for both of you, do you think it deserves the entire storm that it gets from a lot of people?
I don't.
I don't. It doesn't deserve the critical reception it's been getting, but we can talk more at length about that after we talk more about the nuances of the movie, because the internet outcry, the internet reaction to this has been so bizarre and weird.
It has.
Like fanboys attacking critics on Twitter. It's so weird. It's so weird to me.
The internet is such the weirdest medium.
Right.
It is, yeah.
Of all time.
Yeah, and there were articles saying does Batman v Superman's box office results, does it shove it in the face of critics or something like that? And I'm like, it's Batman v Superman.
It's gonna make money.
Yeah, it was gonna make money regardless. They could have had
two chimpanzees dressed as Batman and Superman, and people go,
Exactly.
I'd probably pay to go see that.
Right. So let's talk about some of the elements of the movie going into it. There's a lot in this movie to unpack.
There is.
What do you guys want to talk about first?
Well, I think it's important to address one of my biggest issues with the movie is the juxtaposition of two main characters. That's so hard to balance, especially when you're dealing with such massive, just out-of-this-world characters, literally. And I think it's inevitable that it's going to skew in one way, and in some, unless you're ridiculously talented, and in some way you're going to do a disservice to one of the characters. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that happened in this movie. I feel like so much of the attention was focused on Batman, and maybe that's because it's Batman v Superman. But, and, they already, in this iteration of this story, we already had an entire Superman movie, so I can understand why they might make that decision. But I just feel like the character of Superman and Kal-El in that first movie was not developed to the point that I wanted it, and I really wanted to dive into that character more in this movie, and I don't think we got it. I feel like we got a decently well-rounded Batman in this. But I mean, he got the slow motion prologue of this movie, which I don't think the movie needed that at all.
No, I agree. No, I agree with you.
I mean, I think maybe it did because it influenced his character so much, obviously. But the influence of that event was placed throughout the movie.
But we
Batman,
all know that event, though. Everyone going into that movie knows that event. That's nothing new.
That's true, but yeah, I mean, I don't know.
It's stuff that was on film 10 years ago. Even.
Yeah.
And that, I don't know. It
didn't need to be there, but I understand why he wanted to put it there. I understand why they did it.
I think that's more a reflection of the concept of the movie in itself, because it comes after Man of Steel is the start of this universe. Man of Steel, if they would have taken their time, if they would have even just had one Batman movie, had all of whatever, had introduced Batfleck, maybe it would have been awesome. This would have been so awesome if they had a Batman movie, a solo Batman movie that happened concurrently with Man of Steel, and end Batman with Bruce Wayne seeing the destruction of Metropolis, and then the third movie would be Batman v Superman, Department of Justice, or Department of Corrections, or Department of Sewage and Water.
I will say this. I absolutely loved the beginning portion with him and the destruction of Metropolis.
Me too. I enjoyed that a lot.
Amazingly done.
That's why his character was so well developed.
Right,
it's one of the reasons. Yeah.
And a lot of people had a problem with the violence and Batman kills. I get it. I get the turn. I really do, and I don't have an issue with that. Just because that sequence was just, you really felt the disdain Batman had, or Bruce Wayne had, for what was happening at that time, and I think that just took it all the way through the film. I love the first portion of it.
I thought that was amazing, and movies that movies these days, or post 9/11 movies that show destruction of that level, get kind of a bad rap for evoking imagery of 9/11. And there's a scene where it was in the trailer where the building comes down and there's just dust is just covering Bruce Wayne as he's running into it.
Yeah.
Like one of my favorite shots of the entire movie.
Oh yeah, it's a great shot.
And then after that, there's a horse that's kind of wandering around. It's all distorted. Like that just evoked memories of me of seeing 9/11, seeing the footage of 9/11 on the news back in 2001, and I thought that it was very effective. It was very effective at just introducing the character and everything. Don't know all who the guy was that he was talking on the phone with.
But
he cared a lot about him. Though.
He did. It would have been cool if that would have been cool if that guy was in a whole movie and they had a whole relationship. But whatever.
I got you.
But yeah, and I thought that established it well. I didn't really buy that being the instigation of him increasing his brutality in his crime fighting, of which I don't think there was much of any like crime fighting hero moments in the movie.
There wasn't.
There wasn't, and that was a big. I don't know. It bugged me a little bit.
I get where you could get bugged, but that's something you would want to see in a straight Batman film.
Yeah,
right.
And
I'm talking about in Superman as well, because he had like there was
a couple saving moments,
a couple saving moments that they showed like the beginning and end of. They didn't have he does the Clark Kent like unfastening his shirt as he goes off screen, and after he sees the thing about the fire on the news, and he goes and everything, but then it's just like, and then the next shot is him coming out of the building, and it's the worshippers are all like, oh, Superman. It's like, I kind of would have loved to see like hero moments, something to make them.
I don't know. Do I need to see him go into a fire? I know he can survive a fire.
Yeah.
When the main conflict of the movie is between two hero figures that are at odds with each other, the movie's so dark and so grimy and gritty that you need something to show that like I don't know who is necessarily the good guy in this movie.
Well, here's the thing, and I don't think a lot of people that don't read the comic books understand this. Bruce Wayne, Batman, he's a dick. Like he's not a great person. Like, yeah, he has this vendetta against crime. Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But, Clark Kent's right. He violates people's civil rights. He pummels people into horrendous, even in the comic books, he doesn't kill anybody, but he probably paralyzes a few people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He's not exactly a stable person either. He's not a sane person. He's not a nice guy. So what people don't seem to understand is like, Batman's kind of a dick.
He is. And
he portrayed him as a pretty big dick.
Yeah, and
in my opinion, this was the best Batman on screen ever.
I think he's up there. Yeah.
Interesting.
I actually agree with that.
I loved Ben Affleck in this movie. I loved the representation of Bruce Wayne, and I really enjoyed Batman in it. But I don't know, something about it just. I mean, he's branding the crooks that he's getting, and it's like it's very implicitly made clear in the movie that this Bat brand gets people murdered in prison because they're the worst of the worst and everything. And it's just like, it feels weird. It felt weird to me.
I thought it worked well with how he has been affected by what's going on. Mm-hmm. I feel like that this is a new brand of destruction and evil that's coming into this world, and it's broken him. It's broken his whatever he had left of his generosity. It's gone. He's like, to hell with it. To hell with these people. You're ruining the world. I'm going to ruin yours.
Yeah, and I kind of appreciated the journey of that as well, because I feel like there was a little bit of it. Again, you're right. A standalone Batman movie would have demonstrated it much better, but I think we got a pretty well-rounded Batman in this movie because of things like that, showing the branding, and then we don't necessarily need to skip to this point, but the dream sequence he has where he's
which one?
In like the one that Bruce Wayne has where he's like in a wasteland and it was like a wasteland Gotham. I thought that was stupid. Let me say it was stupid, but I think it influenced the character a lot because it sends, continued him on this journey to
showed his fear of Superman.
Right, and even more and what he was going to become as well. Because in that dream sequence, he's murdering people. He's using guns. I was like, when I first saw it, I was like, what is this? Because why is he killing people just nonchalantly? And it just influenced that journey he was on to the grander brutality that he demonstrates throughout the movie. And
which is why I didn't have a problem with the dream sequence. I enjoyed the dream sequence personally.
Well, there were like 17 of them. It felt like
I was
that was
a
the problem.
Say, the thing I've kind of come around to, or keep coming back to, is Batman v Superman had more dream sequences in its runtime than I want to see in every movie I see this year.
Yeah,
I've met my quota for dream sequences, but that one in particular, does it have?
You'll be feel bad when Inception 2 comes out in August.
Oh God. But that dream sequences, does it have ties to the comic at all?
Yeah, okay. The creatures that you saw, they're dark sides, minions. So I think that's going to play a bigger role in Justice League film. So people that understand the comic books kind of see a little bit more into it than you did. The dream sequence directly after that, where the Flash comes in to warn Bruce Wayne, that is a tie-in to a story.
Point? Is it Flashpoint?
Yeah, I think so that's a tie-in to a future event too. So, there's some things that comic book people are going to appreciate about these sequences more so than the general viewing public.
You think you're better than me?
Yeah, I
do. Well, no, that's good to know. It softens my opinion of that scene. Then I guess
and I don't know. I was listening to I think it was Mad About Movies brought this up about the Flash moment in the dream sequence Flash moment. I had no idea. I didn't know it was Flash. Like I couldn't tell.
I couldn't tell either.
What the hell it was, and it kind of seemed like they were purposely.
It's Flash's futuristic armor.
Right.
Battle suit.
Okay, because Mad About Movies mentioned it and said that they couldn't tell, and they assumed that maybe it was because they just don't know what Flash is going to look like. So they purposely made it distorted. And like when I saw it, I was like, this comes directly from a dream sequence. I'm thinking, is this Robin or something? Like warning him that he needs to stop Superman. And then he's like, Lois Lane is the key. And I'm like, wait, what just happened? Yeah, I don't know. But anyway, so yeah, I really enjoyed the Batman stuff. However, the more I think about it, the more I realize that, it seemed what Zack Snyder brought to the movie and what the screenwriters brought to the movie for Batman seemed like a lot of it was an amalgamation of stuff that we've seen recently. Like, we get the origin story that's filmed a lot like how Nolan did with him falling down the shaft and all that. And then the stuff with Diana Prince. That reminded me of like the cat and mouse game of Catwoman and Bruce Wayne in Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah, I could see that.
The Batmobile sequence reminded me of The Dark Knight. Even the big fight scene that he had toward the end of the movie that I won't spoil or anything, but the style of it, which I loved this aspect of it, but it reminded me of like the Arkham City games, the Arkham Asylum games.
It very, very much evoked memories of when I was watching it, I was like, God, this is I'm playing Arkham City again. Which I didn't see that as a bad thing.
Me neither.
Because it was brutal.
Oh yeah.
It was well shot. Like in the way how cohesive his fighting style was, I thought was just spectacular.
Yeah, I'm criticizing all the Batman stuff. But like that one,
but I loved it. The Batman stuff was great. Terrible, but I loved it.
It really was. Like in that instance, like that's the one derivative aspect of it that I don't mind because that's from a different medium, and I don't know if it was inspired by that, but it just
I'm
felt
sure
like
it was.
That.
It felt it was way too reminiscent for it not to be inspired by it.
And the only thing that Zack Snyder seems to bring to the table with Batman, from my perspective, I don't know if this is something from the comics or not, but the branding thing, and that's still just
no, it's never been in the comics. But
that didn't sit well with me. So
I liked it.
I don't know.
I also thought that like the beginning portion where we're first introduced to Batman, where he catches that was amazingly shot. He really did a good job of grasping the terror factor of Batman when fighting the criminals. Like that was.
So let's
and just know I also love the line where he tells Alfred's like, we're criminals, Alfred. We've always been criminals. He's right. They've always been criminals. That's the point of Batman. He does what the police will not do.
I really liked. Also Jeremy Irons.
Oh yeah,
I thought he was fantastic.
That was great.
Yeah, he was another highlight.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and I mean, I guess this is as good a time to bring it up as anything else, but Jesse Eisenberg in this movie, which I will say, going into it, I had some very big reservations, like that scene in the trailer where he comes up and like it's in the movie obviously, but in the trailer
was it in the movie?
It was
that scene from the trailer.
It was. But when he comes up and he interrupts Bruce and oh, I love bringing people together. That in the trailer I hated, but I swear I'm maybe one of like maybe 5 people, but I thought he did a fantastic job.
I love Jesse Eisenberg.
I thought he was really good.
Great.
Wow,
Yeah.
I'm surprised to hear you guys say that.
Here's why. I kind of like the tech savant younger Lex Luthor, because it kind of fits in the current world motif.
Mm-hmm.
But what I really loved is I felt the disdain he had for Batman or for Superman. Here's a guy who's your typical kind of geeky genius. He's skinny, he's not brawny. He's done amazing things for the world, but here's this man that has come in, destroyed half a city, and is worshipped by half the world. Mm-hmm. So I see the jealousy and pure disdain for what Superman has done such a short amount of time, and while he, on the other hand, has done things to forward technology in the world and is bettered the world, and here this guy comes in, destroys half a city, and people worship him like a god. So I see the disdain, and I think he does a good job portraying the disdain for Superman.
Man, I didn't see that at all. I'm sorry to just do the polar opposite of what you said, but I really didn't. I didn't get that at all. That was my biggest problem with the character, is his motivation. Why? I mean, you laying it out there, that was good. I understand it there, but I don't think that was telegraphed well in the movie at all. I don't think it was laid out well. Just the motivation just was not there for me, for him to want Superman and Batman dead. I don't
think he wanted Batman dead. I think he was utilized once he realized that Batman had taken the kryptonite. I think he utilized Batman then as a tool to dispense of Superman.
Yeah, maybe.
This
that's true.
I didn't get his motivation for being the instigator in all of this. I didn't get his motivation or his disdain for Superman and all that. I loved his speech moment in the gala event thing or whatever.
Yeah, that was really good.
I thought that was great. I loved those little moments with him, and like in that scene with him and the senator where he's doing this weird thing, and then it just at the drop of a hat he just switches. Like in his brain, he's very menacing, and it's very creepy and eerie. Like I loved that, what he brought to the character for that. And in the moment, I didn't really care what his motivation was. I didn't really care why. Like why? Wait, so this is the first we're seeing him. Why does he not like Superman? Why is he Superman? One of Superman's greatest villains, basically.
Yeah, I think it's important to have a motivation. I agree, it wasn't, very well portrayed his disdain for. I think that it needs to be there. I mean, you have to have a reason.
Yeah, and in the moment I didn't care, but the more I thought about it, the more I realized how much of an absence there was to it for me. And
maybe I've just projected my own knowledge of the character into the movie, which is very possible.
And a lot of it could just be inferred from it, but also, take some time to tell us.
Well, it's 2.5 hour movie, and they're trying to. I get it. You're going to leave some things out. There's a lot to put into it, so maybe not every character is going to be developed as well as we hoped, but that's why I can't wait for the 3 hour.
I'm actually anxious to see that.
Yeah, me too.
I really am.
I'm curious to see it.
I agree with those two scenes where he's with the senator, and stuff like that. Those were well done. I appreciated his work in those scenes, if you will, but the other ones, I just didn't get it at all. Specifically, the Jolly Rancher scene. That was so clumsy to me.
It was weird.
In so many ways.
That was really, really weird.
That was super clumsy.
I didn't get that. I didn't
know if he was supposed to be. He was trying to intimidate him. I don't know if he was. I don't know what, or if he was genuinely
Children
insane.
choke on Jolly Rancher, Senator.
Yeah, and I think he had some menace in those other scenes, and he actually felt villainous, but in just about every other way, he was a clown, and not in the scary way like the Joker is. He's laughable, and just I don't know. I did not appreciate the decisions they made in developing that character by giving him the weird voice and just his mannerisms and his attitude in general. I just couldn't.
Sure.
I just really didn't care for the character, and I don't know if that was. I assume that was more studio / Zack Snyder than it was Jesse Eisenberg. I can't see him choosing to take.
I don't know if that was, or maybe even the writers. I don't know.
Who knows?
What portion of Lex Luthor or what scene I did love him the most is when they're on top of the tower and he just pushes Lois off. I just love the I don't care. This is my means to an end.
Right.
You know.
You're expendable.
That was very Lex Luthor.
I like that. Yeah.
That was like the most Lex Luthor thing he did throughout the entire film.
I'm gonna circle back to that when we talk spoilers, because there's some stuff I want to touch on before. Well, should we just go into spoilers?
Maybe go over a little bit of Superman first.
Okay, yeah. So Superman was in this movie apparently.
Yeah, right.
What'd you guys think of old Kal-El there?
I thought they did a good job of establishing how naive he is to his actions in the world. I don't think him and Amy Adams do well together.
I don't think so either. Then again, they didn't give Amy Adams much of anything. Like they had this.
Yeah. She was a plot point.
Yeah.
She was just there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have this bullet. Let's go talk to Lennox about it and get all this stuff. It's like it was superfluous fluff.
I did like the beginning sequence with her, and from what I've read is it's a little bit more extensive in the 3-hour version.
Okay.
In the desert.
We can talk about that in spoilers too, because that comes from what I said about Zack Snyder earlier about his comments about the movie.
I feel like in so many of the significant scenes that Superman was involved with in this movie, he doesn't say anything. I mean, I don't want to spoil it. There's an act of terrorism that takes place, and he's literally in the middle of it. And I don't think we ever get his feelings on that or how that influenced him. It was just kind of happened, and everyone else reacted to it except him, is what it kind of felt like. And
in the midst of that, he kind of had the look on his face like, do I have milk?
Yes, he did.
Did I leave the stove on?
Right. And even everyone knows there's a big fight with him and Superman, or him and Batman in this movie.
Spoiler alert.
I don't know, just his attitude throughout that and the way his character reacts to everything. There wasn't a lot of reaction.
Right.
You can write some of it off because there's kryptonite involved, but even then, I don't know. The thing with
the movie that Batman, his motivations or his want for taking down Superman are made very clear. They're made clear. There's a clear through line to why he is afraid of Superman, why he wants to take down Superman. It's a little clumsy to me, just a little bit, just given what I know about Batman before, like in other iterations of Batman. It's just kind of clumsy, the brutality of it, but that's we've already discussed that. But with Superman, it's like he talks about like, oh, he's a vigilante, and it's supposed to be two different ideologies going up against one another and everything. But it just felt like Superman's motivation, Superman's involvement, and it was just lacking completely. And when you like, there's such a good premise for a movie, and there's such a good idea at the heart of this movie, but it's spoiled by the movie itself. Like I said before, you could have had a Batman movie and a Superman movie and then lead it in. But if the conflict between Batman and Superman was just the conflicting ideologies, the conflicting ideas about how to handle things, and power versus goodness and stuff like that. If it was just those two going up against each other, just strictly because of that, and not any outside forces, no outside instigators, nothing like that, that would have been such a better, more thought-provoking movie, and something that a better writer and better director could have just had a freaking field day with, in terms of subtext and social commentary and political allegory, stuff like that. Like that, you could have just made the best Batman movie, best Superman movie of all time with this premise and with these
Technically,
characters.
this is the best Batman and Superman movie of all time.
That's a great thought.
Yeah.
That's well put. I agree with that. I think that would be would have been more interesting. They wouldn't even have needed a villain.
No,
right. Yeah,
but
exactly.
The reason you need a villain in this is because you're establishing Justice League and you're introducing Wonder Woman. What's Wonder Woman's role in it? Other than she's not going to be the referee in the fight.
Yeah.
Right.
But I agree. I agree.
It's just a comment on how them mashing two movies together.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well,
Two,
what I will
3
say
movies.
is,
I don't know.
I feel like they needed a middle confrontation between Batman and Superman because they had the first one when Batman is doing his Batman thing,
Right.
Yeah.
and then they have the big fight. I feel like one more in between there would have been good for establishing a little bit more disdain between the two.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Agreed.
Like basically, we just got the weigh-in and the match. Like they needed more.
yeah.
More conflict throughout it, and
Nice sports reference.
Yeah, good
man.
job.
right? Yeah, I've seen Creed. I know what I'm doing.
So even your sports reference is a movie reference.
Right. No, but let's see. Oh, okay. So before we go into spoilers, there's more to talk about with this movie too. Love of God.
It's it's a big
It's
a big movie,
3
so-
movies in one.
yeah, there's some truth to that.
At least
It
2.5.
is, Yeah. But before we go into that, coming out of Batman v Superman, what were your guys' feelings about the impending DC cinematic universe? How do you feel it's going to go from here? What do you want to see out of these solo movies and out of the Justice League movies? What are your thoughts going in about what DC and Warner Brothers are doing with these properties? Tiny, how about you?
Tons and tons of potential there. And I felt the same way with Marvel starting out. I was like, if they get the right people, it could be fantastic. And I feel the same way now, but I don't feel that Zack Snyder's the right person to bring that to fruition.
Right.
I just don't think he can balance everything that well. Granted, I'm sure I know for a fact he had pressure from the studio to cram everything that he did into this movie. And that was unfair of the studio to ask of him. But he seemed pretty willing to do it. He's culpable, definitely, in this. But like I said, tons of potential. I'm still looking forward to the Suicide Squad movie.
Yeah, me too. I think it looks like a lot of fun.
I agree. I think that looks cool. And I don't know if that's because Zack Snyder didn't do it. I'm not sure. But to think that, I don't know. I'll say this: if they come out with if Zack Snyder was directing one of the movies, I wouldn't be as excited about it. But like the Wonder Woman movie, that's not Zack Snyder. I can't remember who's doing it, but
Patty Jenkins.
Okay,
It was originally going to be Catherine Bigelow, but she left the project.
Oh, that's a shame.
Yeah,
That is a
Patty
shame.
Jenkins has done a bunch of TV episodes. I can't remember. I almost want to say Game of Thrones, but I'm not sure.
Okay.
I don't think
Well,
she's done Game of Thrones. But she's
So
done some TV
it seems like those standalone ones are going to be done by other people. But if Zack Snyder does the one where they all come together, the Avengers Assemble kind of thing,
Justice League Part 1, 2018?
2018.
2018,
Yeah.
directed by Zack Snyder.
is he?
Yep.
See, I'm not really excited about that.
2019 is going to be Part 2, directed by Zack Snyder. I think.
Ugh.
Yeah, is
Yeah.
it 2019?
2019. Yeah, 2019.
Yeah.
It
starts filming this year.
It shows you how unexcited I am that I didn't know that.
Right.
Like I'm not excited by that at all.
Yeah. And what did you think of the teasers for the other characters? Did we touch on that?
Yeah, those were cool. I especially like the Flash one.
Mhm.
I think that was fun. It was a little subtle,
Yeah.
subtle, simple thing.
Yeah.
The other two, I could take it or leave it. I don't even know who the one was.
Cyborg?
I don't.
With
Is that who that is?
the robot one?
Yes.
The
Yeah.
one with like the torso hanging
Yeah.
on. Yeah, Cyborg.
Mm.
I didn't even know who that one was, but that's my shortcoming, not the films. But
Right.
it looked cool. Yeah, they were fun.
Fekkes, what do you think about Justice League DC Universe going forward and the teasers for the future movies?
The teasers, I'll start with them. I think Flash is my favorite. I thought that was really well done. I'm excited. I'm excited for Aquaman, and I never thought I'd say that because he's been one of the least interesting comic book characters for me. But I like Aquaman's look, and I'm interested to see what direction they take him. Cyborg, yeah, I don't know a whole lot about Cyborg, so that's probably where my kind of meh comes from. I'm excited for the standalones just because, hey, look, I have rosy colored glasses on when I'm watching comic book movies, and so more comic book movies to me, it's all for the better. I'm the guy that defends the Thor movies and Iron Man 2, and so I understand that I already hate already predisposed to enjoy comic book films. So I'm looking forward to those, and I'm still looking forward to a Zack Snyder directed Justice League movies.
Interesting.
I think given it 2 parts, I think he can. I have faith in the guy. I think he can. Maybe because I like this movie more than you guys did. Honestly, I think a Zack Snyder directed Batman movie would be fantastic.
I'd say I'm going to go see it. Obviously, I mean, I'm not going to see it. And
I see the look of excitement in Matt's eyes on that.
Oh yeah, that just broke my heart a little bit.
I don't know. I don't see how you can have such little faith. Yeah, he's had some bombs, but he's done 300. He's done Watchmen. He's done Dawn of the Dead. He's done good stuff. So I feel like given the chance, he could still do good stuff. So
yeah,
comparatively, I don't think he has comparing to other comic book movies.
Watchmen to me is one of the best comic book movies.
Watchmen, yeah, but Man of Steel and this, I think those are on the lower tiers of.
I put Man of Steel in the middle, but then again, I have a better.
You come at it with more context.
Yeah,
sure.
Is that what you're trying to say?
Well, I have a better view of it than not. I like it more than you guys do.
You
tread lightly.
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
You're the guest on the podcast, and you think that you.
I know everything.
You come from a better position than us. I get it.
It's Robert Fekkes.
No, you guys don't know what the hell you're talking about. That's what it is.
So I mean, I said before, I'm kind of all about this shared universe thing. There's a longer conversation to be had about this is completely off topic, but I don't think that the shared universe formula and the current trend of it now should just be superhero movies. There's an argument to be made that in a perfect world, if I had billions and billions and billions of dollars in a studio that I could run, I would buy up the rights to Stephen King's work and make a shared universe Dark Tower series with incorporating everything. So I like the idea of a shared universe, of a continuity that runs through multiple franchises and multiple characters and their standalone things leading up to big team-up movies and stuff like that. So I'm looking forward tentatively. I'm cautiously optimistic about the DC movies going forward. I like the teasers. There was a lot of criticism about how Batman v Superman had teasers for movies in the movie. However, I think that the teasers for it would have and I know that DC didn't want to draw comparisons from Marvel, and I can respect that. But man, how cool would it have been if there was a post-credit scene where they hinted at the scene with the video files of the other characters. What if that was a post-credit scene? That would have been really cool. That would have been.
I think so too.
Yeah. I really like it.
Marvel's so well known for their post-credit scenes.
Yeah.
That'd be the first criticism. Everyone's like, "Oh, trying to do what Marvel does."
You're right. Yeah.
I would say probably 85 to 90% of the audience stayed in there because they thought that was going to be.
They made an announcement before our showing.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, they did.
Oh, that's nice. Not at our theater.
I also had a buddy that saw it 2 days before I did, and I asked him, and he was like, "Yeah."
Yeah. But I'm not crazy about Zack Snyder Justice League movies because I don't like Zack Snyder.
Well, he doesn't like you.
I can see it now.
Called
Fade
me up
in.
the other day. He's like, "Hey, Robert." It's like, "What's up, Zach?" He's like, "Man, I hate that Matt Herk." I was like, "This was a random conversation."
It is. I'm sure that it took twice as long for that conversation to take place. Oh God. Oh, Zack Snyder. Anyway, so yeah, but I'm curious about the future of the franchise and see where it goes. And it made me, I don't know, something about it made me really curious to, I want to go, and I know that these aren't connected and don't strike the right tone, but I'm really curious to see, or I would like to go and watch, watch Arrow and The Flash, the TV shows, and, because they have their own, crossover kind of event thing.
Right, Supergirl.
Yeah, Supergirl and, Legends of Tomorrow. They have their whole TV universe going on. So worst comes to worst, if Zack Snyder decides to, go off the deep end and really tank the film franchise, I'll still check out the TV shows and see what they do there, because
It's a long commitment. 22 episodes.
It is.
I can't do it.
It is.
I'm sure they're good shows. It's just I don't have the.
Yeah, that's
I'm
true.
not a TV guy anyway.
That's why I haven't really gotten into it, because it's a big commitment. And then now there's just and I'm such a completionist that it's like, okay, Arrow, okay, I'll watch 2 seasons. I really want to watch The Flash. That's the one I really want to watch, because I did watch the pilot episode of it and I really liked it. And I'm a fan of time travel. I love time travel. I feel like The Flash is right up my alley.
Yeah.
It's speeding up right up my alley.
Hey.
Anyway, but I feel like I need to go through 3 seasons worth of Arrow before I can watch The Flash.
Right. Yeah. No, I know what you're saying.
And that's why I'm not a comic book fan, because I would go crazy.
There's a lot out there.
Yeah. So yeah, is that everything? Should we go into spoilers?
Yeah, I'd say it's
Do it.
spoiler time.
Hey, it's me cutting into the episode to let you know that before we get into spoilers, or before we get into our spoiler section, I've added a 6-minute long clip that Mike actually sent in after he saw the movie, and the timing just happened to match up to where I hadn't edited the episode yet, so I'm including that in this episode, and hopefully we can do some more things like that with him, because we really miss having him on as a full-time co-host and everything. So we're going to try to do that, but for the meantime, before we get to our spoiler discussion, there's a 6-minute discussion or a 6-minute audio clip of Mike talking about his thoughts on the movie. He spoils it a little bit here and there, but he doesn't go into too much specifics. But if you still want to avoid spoilers and just want to skip to Potpourri, check the show notes. If you've seen the movie or don't mind being spoiled, just continue listening and enjoy the rest of the episode. Thank you.
Okay, so it's 12:02 Central Time, and I just got out of Dawn of Justice, Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice, and I just thought it would be kind of a fun thing if I recorded my thoughts on the drive home. So I'm literally recording this on my phone as I drive home. Initially, I gotta say it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. I think I've gone on record as saying how much I hate Zack Snyder, how unimpressed I was, especially with Man of Steel, and how I wasn't really excited going into this movie. And so I can't say that I was let down by anything. That said, there were a few moments that kind of did surprise me, pleasantly surprised, which ultimately just leads me to be disappointed in what kind of good movie it could have been, and eventually turned out not to be. I agree with a lot of people who are saying that Ben Affleck is pretty good at Batman. Unfortunately, there's just not enough. I really liked a lot of the ways, in terms of the action, I liked how they had Superman fly. I think they kind of put him in interesting poses that I thought those shots were composed particularly captivating. In the end, though, too much silliness, light on the things that were good and very heavy on things that just didn't work the way I think they thought they did. The movie wasn't nearly as heavy as I imagine Zack Snyder and the producers thought it was. It kind of was soulless, really, I felt. I did feel like the powers were there. I was pretty impressed by the final fight scene with Doomsday in terms of the gravity of the situation, but I wasn't impressed with feeling anything during those scenes. I felt very little. Very bored in the beginning, and especially when you get to that first real fight scene toward the end of the movie where Batman is kind of taking on some of those thugs, was probably the highlight of the movie, and I just found myself frustrated that there wasn't more of that earlier on in the movie. I think there are some of those silly directorial choices from Zack Snyder that we've just kind of come to expect that seem, again, like they hold some sort of gravity, but they don't. Scenes like where, toward the very beginning of the movie, where Lois Lane is in the bathtub and Superman, Clark just kind of gets in the tub with her. It's just kind of cheesy, and you kind of expect a little more from a superhero movie with this kind of weight. One of my biggest gripes was the shoehorning in of the Justice League. I know, I get it. I get that this is Dawn of Justice, and that's the whole point. And this is the beginning of their whole universe to compete with Marvel. But it just didn't work. The little cameo appearances and the video footage of the other characters was just not impressive. I just couldn't care less. Even when Wonder Woman arrived, and I think it's very cool to finally have Wonder Woman on the big screen, and it's cool to have a strong female superhero, but it just didn't feel like the movie needed it. I was very interested in what Batman versus Superman, the idea of that, had to say, and it just kind of they added Wonder Woman, and I just immediately began to not care. Speaking of Batman versus Superman, their fight scene was also pretty disappointing. Cool to see some of the decisions they made and some of the particular action set pieces. However, I found that because they were so heavy and Batman was encumbered by the suit that he had to wear, it felt like a very slow scene, and kind of unfortunately just reminded me of the pointlessness of the General Zod fight from Man of Steel. Just two heavy things going at it slowly. It just not a whole lot to it, which leads me to the plot. Not a whole lot to that either, especially pitting the two of them together really seemed forced at the end. The idea that Lex Luthor would hold Martha Kent hostage just seemed, for a movie that felt like it was trying to be bigger than it was, that type of character motivation is even smaller than it was. So just very disappointed in that. So again, to sum up, there were parts that actually did exceed my expectations. Some fun parts. I thought a lot of the stuff with Batman was interesting. I really liked how Superman was kind of savvy to Batman because he could kind of overhear that there was someone in Batman's ear. Some of that was cool. Just not enough of the things that were good. Special effects were, top state of the art. I don't know why I said it that way. State of the art special effects, and just looks great. But ultimately, better than Man of Steel, but disappointingly hollow. Didn't leave me wanting more. However, they have announced that Ben Affleck just finished his script for his Batman movie, so I am looking forward to seeing what they do with that. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, so spoilers for Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice starting now. Okay, so first, right off the bat, guys, the thing that's been bugging me, first of all, retreading old topics from like an hour ago, Zack Snyder, I hated the beginning. It's like, okay, there's Bruce Wayne flashback, Africa with Lois Lane, then Daily Planet. Like,
well, you have to establish Superman's story.
You do, but there are better ways to do it without jumping and being jarring. But the thing I want to get to is Lois Lane. Are you guys aware of who the photographer was in that scene?
No.
It was Jimmy Olsen.
They killed Jimmy Olsen?
They did. And what I was saying, earlier about Zack Snyder's remarks, it's like that was like it's supposed like they reference him, they say, "Oh, hey Jimmy" or whatever, and then it's he's referred to as a CIA plant, but that was literally Jimmy Olsen. Like that was according to Zack Snyder. This is his direct quote, which again, okay, so quote Zack Snyder, quote, "We just did it as this little aside because we had been tracking where we thought the movies were going to go, and we don't have room for Jimmy Olsen in our big pantheon of characters. but we can have fun with him, right? So his idea of having fun with an iconic character of the comics and everything is to kill him off screen because it's PG-13. After a minute of screen time, if that.
I don't hate that comment. I think it's kind of funny.
I just think it's so weird and silly, and
I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think it's funny. I didn't know that was Jimmy Olsen though.
Yeah.
F you, Jimmy.
I don't know. It just strikes me as just weird. Like, it strikes me as he doesn't. And granted, again, I don't understand the universe. I don't understand the source material or anything.
Well,
I'm not familiar with
Jimmy
it.
Jimmy Olsen serves as a person to save. So,
Well, yeah, okay.
We don't need him.
That's a good. You don't need him because he doesn't save anyone in this damn movie.
Yeah, and it's funny. He's like, well, we didn't have room for him. You had room for everybody else.
Yeah.
Well,
Practically, literally everyone
except for
else.
Jimmy.
Another thing. This is a minor. This isn't even a nitpick. It's just a problem with the writing. Like, I don't like David S. Goyer is one of the screenwriters. I don't like his style. I don't like it. Like his dialogue is awful pretty much across the board. Anything I've seen of his. Like I'd read the original draft of Batman Begins before Nolan got a hold of it, and I thought that it was just garbage. Like, not garbage, but it was just really just, it didn't work for me. And it was David S. Goyer was the sole writer on that one, back when I read it. But, Perry White, like, there's like his first 3 scenes, 2 of them, he does the newspaper editor cliche thing. It's like he pitches headlines to, like, he pitches a headline to Clark, like, he's like, oh, go check out go write about the sports thing, like, and he does the thing where he puts his hand up and he puts the words in the air. Yeah, he's like, Metropolis Sports win, blah, blah, blah. And then I'm like, okay, that's kind of silly, but okay. And then the next scene that he's in, he does the same thing to Lois Lane.
See, I thought it was tongue in cheek.
Yeah,
really,
it worked for me.
I think it needed some lighthearted.
It worked for me. I thought I really enjoyed Lawrence Fishburne in this.
I did too.
Like, I was immediately thinking, like, oh, this will be funny if this is just all he does. But
Batman, what are you doing here?
Clark Kent, always away from desk.
Doomsday destroys city, but it's okay because the city is vacant, which we'll get to that in a bit. Yeah. So. Where else should we go with this? Because there's a lot to talk about in spoilers.
I didn't love Wonder Woman's reasoning for needing to infiltrate Lex Luthor. It's like, I gotta steal this picture, and I'll get this one picture from the server. It's like, I don't think you understand digital media, Wonder Woman.
She is like 150 years old, but still,
I mean. True. And also on a podcast, they brought this up and they mentioned that, like, why does she need the picture anyway? Because it's okay, if I showed you a picture from 1918 with me in a costume, it's like you're just gonna say, oh yeah, he looks like you.
He clearly has a superpower.
Right. Which, granted,
no normal human would wear that headdress. She's a superhero. Quick, take that picture.
Yeah, it's like she literally just used a lasso of truth to hold down Doomsday while Superman stabs him to death. But it's like, someone sees that picture, like, oh my god, she's over 100 years old. That's insane.
Right.
Holy crap.
There's no such thing as people that look like one another.
Which, that would also probably be a flaw with the idea of the teasers for the movies being at the end of the movie, because in my vision, it would be Wonder Woman opening it. But, the world would know about Wonder Woman at that point anyway, so that's flaw in my thought process anyway. But, so there was a moment in this movie where I laughed out loud, like long. It was
pretty fun. It was funnier hearing you laugh than the actual moment in the movie.
Well, the context for it was a line. It was the line where they come to an agreement, and at the end of their fight, Batman and Superman. It's because their mothers both have the same first name.
Well.
The reason I laughed about that is because when I realized, because I just watched Man of Steel, and Martha Kent is in the movie, and I'm like, oh, Martha Kent, okay, cool. And then when I saw, when I was watching Batman v Superman, and I saw the beginning and saw that oh, I didn't realize Martha Wayne is named Martha too. And then, like, I wish if I was an asshole and talked during movies, which no one should ever do, I seriously wanted to, like, turn to Tiny and be like, Wouldn't it be awesome if they just realized that their mother's names are Martha, and it's like, oh my god, your mom's name is Martha. My name's Martha too. My mom's name is Martha too. Oh my god.
Did we just become best friends?
Did we just become best friends?
It was a very awkward ending to that fight, and the problem with ending that fight is it's hard to find a reason to end it because you have Superman that could easily snap Batman's neck should he want to, and you have Batman that just has an insatiable, just ridiculous desire to follow through what his plan is going to be. So how do you stop that fight? In the comic book where the fight's taken from is The Dark Knight Returns, where they fight, Batman has Superman against the ropes. He's gonna kill him. Like he's gonna kill Superman, but he doesn't. And there's a specific reason in the comic book why he chooses not to. So, but that reasoning doesn't fit for the context of the movie. So yeah, I didn't love the Martha either, but
also I don't remember the exact lines, but and this is problematic of the entire movie, really. And I enjoyed the movie. I want to reinforce this. I enjoyed the experience of seeing this movie for the most part. I liked the action scenes, and like when they were fighting each other, I just had a grin on my face.
God, that
was
such
so
a good,
cool.
It's such a good
That's
fight.
Cool.
So cool. But all I thought was like I don't remember. I need to see it again, but I remember like Superman saying like he's gonna kill Martha or something, and I'm like, what? Like if I was in that position, I wouldn't say, "Oh my God, he's gonna kill Sandy."
Kill my mom,
right? It's like he's gonna kill my mom, and
who the fuck is Nikki?
right? Like, why would you say like what? The only reason for him to say Martha is so that Bruce Wayne would notice that, and also it's a deeper flaw in the movie in that. Maybe it's more a flaw to the not even kryptonite can be an explanation for this because it happens before. But when Lex Luthor tells Superman like, "Oh, I have Martha Kent, and if you bring me the head of the bat, I'll release her and everything." It's like, okay. Earlier in the movie, Superman flew across the world to save Lois Lane because he can sense where she is, and he did it later where he saved her from the skyscraper. Could he not sense where Martha was so that he could go save her and himself and not have to deal with all that? Like, there was no explanation to why that isn't a thing when he has two very important women in his life. There's Lois Lane, who doesn't give much character development, but that's neither here nor there. And then Martha Kent, like, can he not do the same thing to Martha that he did with Lois and find her? Like, and that's more fault with Superman's powers and everything, but I don't know. That bothered me.
And I can see that. It's hard to draw the line on Superman's powers, and that's always kind of been my thing. Why I don't care for Superman comics. So he is all powerful. It's, he has one flaw, and that's kryptonite. So it's hard to decide where the line is going to be drawn as to how effective his powers can be. So and I get your complaint. I really do.
Well, one power he doesn't have is the power to use diplomatic skills, which I made this argument when we talked about Man of Steel. I remember it because it just bothers me so much that, in Man of Steel, he tries to reason with Zod, but he doesn't try very hard. It feels like it just escalates to violence immediately, like so quickly. And I feel like in this movie, when he's fighting Batman, I liked the beginning where he lands and he tries to talk to him and reason with him, and Batman's just so pissed off at that point. He's just like, no, death to him. And that was cool, but like throughout the fight, they start fighting at any moment. Clark Kent could have been like, they're going to kill my mom. Right. Or Superman. He could have been like, they're going to kill my mom, or I need your help right now. This is a dire thing. He could just no diplomatic skills whatsoever. And I realize they have to fight. It's stupid.
He's also probably kind of pissed off that this is the first time he's actually getting bested by a human being at some point. So he's probably like, mother.
But still, you gotta step aside, bro.
Right.
They do, man. They do. Martha's.
Yeah.
I did like your text to me. He's like, you want to discuss Batman v Superman Martha's boys?
That's another thing is that when we were, I texted you, Fekkes, about recording tonight, and like when I sent this text, I immediately thought like, if you read this out of context, you would have no fucking idea we were talking about a Batman and Superman movie. Because I said, you texted me and said, what time are we recording today? I said, does 7:30 work for you? You said it does. So I said, sweet. hopefully when we record, it won't just turn out to be a dream sequence, or hopefully if we have water nearby, it won't be a jar of urine. Either way, I'll be sure to have Jolly Ranchers on hand to feed to you and Tiny. Like, nothing in that text says anything about Batman and Superman, but it's about this movie specifically.
Yeah.
It's the weirdest thing.
I didn't hate the urine portion. I thought it was funny.
I genuinely laughed. I genuinely saw the comedy in it. I thought that it goes back to...
I thought that was very antagonistic. That was very... That character's Lex Luthor. It was very antagonistic.
Yeah. It worked perfectly well for me in the context of the movie. It was definitely... I mean, it was weird, but it was weird because Lex Luthor is weird in this movie.
Yeah.
How he got the damn jar of urine there is a question for another day.
Mm-hmm.
What his motivations throughout the entire movie were, I don't know, because I feel like if you go back and I've read articles, I've listened to podcasts about this, no one can seem to say what Lex Luthor's entire plot, like his entire thing, seemed more reactive to or more contingent on what the script needed him to do rather than any inherent logic to him. Like, okay, so he wants to pit Batman and Superman so that he can kill so that they can kill Superman, I guess, or Batman.
I don't think he had any issues with Batman. I think he sees Superman as how dare this alien come to my planet and be worshipped as a god. I think the original plan was for him to use the kryptonite against Superman, but once Batman stole the kryptonite, which one of my biggest issues was, there's clearly a badass battle scene that happened when he stole that kryptonite.
Oh, yeah.
Why did I not get to see that battle? So once Batman's taken the kryptonite, he's like, well, screw it, Batman. I'll pit Batman against Superman and have him do my dirty work. So that's where I kind of get, and I'm hoping they flesh out a lot of more of this in the 3-hour
Me too.
version. So
Yeah.
that's what I can't wait for the 3-hour version.
I'm very curious how it's going to feel because I'll see it and I'll be
I'll
curious.
let you borrow mine.
Thank you, because I don't want to. I don't know if I want to spend money on it, but what I can't, like, my whole thing is like, okay, if maybe from the start, if he was instigating a fight between them so they can get rid of Superman, that's fine. That's fine. But when they're fighting and he realizes that he's losing, his answer to, okay, so if his problem is Superman is an alien who came down or whatever, and he wants to get rid of him because he wants, whatever you said, basically, his motivation, if that's his motivation, his answer to it is to create a monster that's even more unkillable than Superman in this world.
But he made it from himself, so I feel like he felt like he had some sort of control over Doomsday. So they made a big emphasis to make sure that it was his DNA spliced into the Genesis chamber to create this Doomsday device.
Let's
Doomsday plot device.
So what did you guys think of it? Tiny, what did you think of Doomsday in the movie in general?
I feel like that kind of creature villain character really needs more than the last 15 minutes of a movie. But again, he's so powerful and arguably, like you said, Fekkes said, arguably more unstoppable than Superman. How do you sustain that for a whole movie? So
you don't.
Yeah, I wanted more of him. I really wanted more of him because he was scary. Doomsday was scary in the movie.
He's not a character though. I mean, he's not like a character that has a background. Like he's literally created in the comic books as well to kill. So it's not like he's got this backstory where Doomsday sitting around like, my family could have been saved by Superman, but they didn't. I didn't love the look of Doomsday to start. I thought he kind of looked like a cave troll from Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
But as he kind of evolved, or I don't know, morphed. I don't know.
As he got more powerful.
Yeah, I thought he looked better and better in his final form. To be a Pokemon nerd, his final form, I thought was very, very cool.
I just wanted to see more of the fighting that resulted as him being around. I mean, I kind of wanted more. I didn't necessarily want him to develop as a character. I just wanted to see more of him because it was cool.
Doomsday in his office one day. Damn Superman.
Oh yeah. It's the final battle with Doomsday and Superman and Batman and Wonder Woman. I loved Wonder Woman in that sequence.
That
I thought
rope part was awesome.
It's
I don't know why.
so
I
cool.
loved seeing her
So
lasso
cool.
him. I thought it was
Yeah.
I love the change in score with her introduction. It's very like I don't know how to describe it, but it's a very distinct style that I hope is going to be like a theme throughout her movie. I just thought it was so cool.
It is. Apparently, they developed scores for each individual Justice League member, is from
Okay.
what I've read.
Nice. That's cool.
Yeah, I thought that was great. Yeah, and I mean, the movie went out of its way to, in the cameos of the newscasters, went out of its way to tell us that
They're unoccupied.
the city was the city was empty. Pretty much like
Not the city,
fortunately
just the area.
the area. Yeah,
It'd be like if Doomsday and Superman were to fight at the old airport. We know there's nobody over there, so they
Sure.
can duke it out over there.
sure.
But yes, there
sure.
was like it was like, oh, it's a good thing there's nobody over there right now.
right.
It's a good thing that whole neighborhood's on vacation.
But that's also with my problem with Man of Steel. It's just destruction porn. It's just
It's another fight between a godlike terrible monster and a literal god. I mean, what do you think it's going to be like in a boxing ring? Like, all right, round over, guys. Careful, those buildings are there. I don't want you to knock those
the
down.
problem is the characterization, though. Like it's destruction porn, but if they had substance for the character motivations and stuff, I'd be more into it. Like the fight sequence with Batman and Superman. That was cool because they both. I mean, it was a little jumbled and it was a little messy and it was a little. The characterization that got them there was a little not to my liking, but you still had clear ideas of where each person was in the fight and what their position was and like what was at stake between the two of them. Basically, with Doomsday, it's like, oh, there's a monster.
Doomsday doesn't have a stake. He's a monster literally created to kill Superman by this horrible evil genius. I mean, he doesn't have a horse in this race. He's just
the horrible evil genius that doesn't really. His motivation didn't work for me in the movie.
And that's
So
fine.
Yeah.
that's I think that might be where the faulting is for me.
The destruction porn just doesn't bother me either. I got to side with Fekkes on that one.
Okay.
It just makes physical sense to me.
yeah. I mean,
all.
Yeah, I don't know. So
you're right. You don't know.
so Superman dies.
I
does.
loved that turn.
Really?
Me too.
I did. I
liked it
loved
too.
it. I didn't like. Yeah, I get it. They were doing their. This fight was brought out of Death of Superman, but I didn't think they were going to kill Superman.
Right.
So it was great. I loved it, and I loved their reaction to his death too. And I kind of loved the dialogue between Diana and Bruce when he's like,
Standing over the grave.
right,
Mhm.
and he's like, they see him as a soldier. They know no other way to mourn him.
Yeah.
So I like that dialogue. So
Mm-hmm.
no, I killing Superman I thought was great little turn.
I liked it too. I actually really did like it. There's a shot, probably. I mean, just like there's such a great scene. I don't know if this is taken from a panel in the comic or anything like that, but there's just a great shot after his death where he's Lois Lane is holding his dead body, and then like off to the side is Batman and Wonder Woman. They're kind of like looking like, oh my god, what just happened? And it's just a static shot on this, and it kind of pulls back a little bit. I loved that, like the way that was set up. I loved that. But and I like, in theory, I really love the idea of Bruce Wayne being the one that has to bring the Justice League together. There's an absence of Superman. It feels like what they were going for was that the death of Superman is what brings Bruce back to a noble figure, but back to where he has an obligation as a vigilante to bring forth bring a team together to defend humanity in the face of evil, stuff like that. And it's mirrored or it's referenced visually by later when he goes to see Lex in prison. He doesn't brand him; he brands the wall or whatever. It's like that's the end of the brutal Bruce Wayne Batman. Right. And everything. I just wish that there was a better through line throughout the movie for me, because maybe it was more because the movie was so cluttered with other things that I didn't know what part of the arc I needed to focus my attention on. Like there's a whole thing with Batman tracking the Russian guy. I think it was a Russian guy. Who ends up being the one that has Martha, and that's like he does something with the phone with him, and he's tracking him to different places. I'm like, that's unneeded. Like they could have just
this is the whole point of him
streamlined.
getting the kryptonite. He's
yeah, but I just felt like it was just like maybe 2-3 scenes too much.
One of the problems I had, and I kind of whispered to Peter, my brother, in the middle of the film, is when they're smuggling in their kryptonite into the docks, and they put this, this substance that's they're probably illegally smuggling in the country into a big box labeled LexCorp. It's like you guys might want to be a little bit more subtle than that.
There was also, and this is mentioned on another podcast. I think it was either Mad About Movies or slash Filmcast, but they mentioned that the file with the other Justice League members, it's like, it's kind of silly when you think a little bit too much at it, because like it's basically Lex Luthor has a file on his computer that has like made metahumans, and they've made logos for each one.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like the
design costume.
Right.
Every time you click on it, like a theme song comes on.
Oh, yeah. And just compiling the footage is just kind of a weird thing. Like, okay, we've got footage of, like, I mean, obviously it's supposed to say that they, like, if there was more data in the file, like if they showed, like, okay, they've tracked him here,
right.
there's records of different purchases, like if it showed like they were like really looking into it. But no, it's just a single video file of a convenience store, surveillance video. There's other videos about it, like a thing from a submarine. It's like, just, show that there's work involved with finding these metahumans.
Right. It's like he just found his favorite clips on,
right.
Mom's World. Like, hey, I'll show this one to my friend later.
Oh my god.
It's like, here's my secret porn folder. Which if you go on my computer and you find my porn folder, I have documents about the transactions.
Absolutely.
All that. It's very, very nice and
breakdowns
nice and clean.
of each category.
Mm-hmm. It's ridiculous. Behind the scenes footage of each scene, and it's
commentary. Commentary. I just was not feeling this day. You can tell by the limpness now.
Jesus.
Oh my god.
Just went down a rabbit hole there.
Right. Also, the death of Superman seems a little superfluous because it seems like, I mean, he's coming back. They hinted at it at the end.
Of course
obviously.
he's coming back. You don't. Everyone knows that's not a shock. Of course he's coming back.
Right. But I don't know. It just seemed like we didn't. I don't know.
You needed that. You needed something to drive Bruce to form the team.
Mm-hmm.
So, he needs to gather the rest of it, because something's coming. We all know something's coming. Whether or not that something's going to be Brainiac, is it going to be Darkseid, we don't know yet. But something bigger than anything they've seen is coming. So,
and that was another fault of mine. Like the end with seeing Lex in prison seemed like it seemed like they were checking off a checklist, saying like, okay, well, we need to hint at the big bad of the universe coming. So, okay, Lex Luthor is just gonna have this total non sequitur, like, oh, he's coming in TikTok or whatever. And I'm sitting there like, who the f***'s coming, man? I have no context.
But he's come into contact with the greater universe by putting himself into the Genesis chamber. So he's coming to, like they said in Man of Steel, it's complete history and knowledge that the Kryptonians had, plus their Genesis. So
see, if that was communicated better.
It was communicated. He's freaking bathing in the Genesis chamber.
He is, and it shows that he has the full knowledge and everything. But when in that scene, all I thought was
that will be communicated better in the 3-hour version, because they've already released a scene that communicates that better.
I saw that, and I can't remember the last time a movie came out, and the week after it came out, they released deleted scenes.
Well, how crazy is? Well, I guess Star Wars Blu-ray's coming out next in 2 weeks, but I feel like July 16th. It's quick.
It's quick, yeah.
But then again, December 17th to April 4th is a quick turnaround.
It's a very short time span. Yeah.
So.
yeah, so is there anything more? I kind of want to talk about the backlash online just briefly, and then we can go to Potpourri.
Okay.
Have you guys been following this at all?
Very vaguely. Once I started seeing how much hate it is again, I was just like, I liked it, so I don't need to read what everyone else's hatred towards it. So
it's the way that I think Drew McQueenie, again on the Slash Filmcast, that episode was amazing, by the way. You guys should listen to it, but the way that he described it was that he came under fire from fanboys who read his review and read news pieces that he had before the movie came out, thinking like they were like film critics were being accused of being paid by Marvel to write bad reviews of it, which is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. And God, I loved it because on Twitter, particularly like Matt Singer and Drew McQueenie and I think David Ehrlich, those like a bunch of critics on Twitter, they were just really having a blast with it. It seemed like they were like, "Oh yeah, I made such a killing off of this." Just seeing how much I got for my review of Geely or whatever. Like they were making jokes left and right. It was amazing.
That's funny.
Fanboys are a little different.
Yeah, and the way that Drew from Hitfix is his Twitter handle, the way that he described it is that what he noticed was that he came into contact with basically what he was doing is like it's his job to review movies and review the industry the way it is. Like this is all a small spot, a small part of his job, a small part of the view of the industry that he has because of his job. On the flip side, the people who are voicing this outcry over his reviews and claiming that they were paid off and everything, this is their world.
Right. Yeah.
Like they don't have that context for it, so they just think that any negativity is going to be they're immature basically. That's just what it comes down to from me. But yeah, it's been so weird. So weird.
Yeah, it has. It's a very divisive movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's very divisive.
Yeah. Which I hope I like it more when I see it again.
I've read a few blogs where the people like Harry Knowles. I don't know if you know who Harry Knowles is. He wrote a first review where it was not very pleasant, and he went and had a second showing of it, and he wrote a second review, almost completely 180 turnaround his opinion
Really?
of it. Yeah. So
see, and I'm coming at this from I liked the movie okay. Like I had fun with the actual experience. But the more I get away from it, the more I'm kind of seeing like just some stuff just doesn't add up for me.
Well,
some stuff didn't work.
There's problems. It's not a perfect movie. I being a fan of the movie, I can tell you there's problems with the movie.
But it's also not worthy of the critical backlash, I don't think.
No, I don't think. I think it's been a bit harsh.
Yeah,
I agree.
They were giving it like, I don't know if this is a good comparison, but they were treating it almost to Fantastic Four levels.
Which is
recent
just
one,
not
which,
going to compare. That's
no,
that's just mean-spirited.
Yeah. Fantastic Four was an abomination. Like that was not a complete movie.
Yeah.
This was just a complete movie made by a person who doesn't know how the to make a movie. And so Potpourri, no. No, I hope that Zack Snyder hires another director.
Just wish him well. Okay, just wish him well.
I can't do that. I just can't.
Well, apparently you don't want to see good Justice League.
Yeah. So okay. So review over. Is there anything more? Can we go to Potpourri?
I think
we beat it to death.
Yeah.
We did.
Yeah.
We did. We
shot it with kryptonite and beat it up.
We did. We threw a spear.
Give it a little stab at it.
I mean,
We did.
it told us its mother's name,
Right. Oh my God.
and they were not the same.
So I cannot be friends with this movie. So Potpourri, guys.
Potpourri.
Thank you for listening to our very long, probably, review of Batman v Superman. And this section of the podcast is we're just basically going to wind down and do a brief rundown of some stuff that we've been watching lately. It's basically the kind of tagline for it. We call it Potpourri. Tagline for it is anything we want as long as it smells good. Which I have a very nice candle warmer going. Thank you guys.
It is very
Does
nice.
smell good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. they didn't mention it off the air or anything. That's fine. I just work really hard to keep this studio/apartment.
I was just
clean.
disappointed to see that you spilled Coke all over your floor.
I know, it's really bad.
The powdered kind, not the liquid kind.
No, not
Matt
powder.
has
kind.
a problem.
He has a problem when he talks so fast.
It was heroin. That's
You're the one that
terrible.
told the general public that I was a roid.
I did not say that. Sam said that. Listen to OV156, I think, for that. Anyway, so Potpourri. Let's start with Fekkes because you're our guest.
Sure.
And why don't you go ahead and hit us with what you've got?
Okay. A couple weeks ago, they released the new trailer for the all-female cast of Ghostbusters,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll tell you what, I had my reservations about the movie coming forward, and this just confirmed every single bit of reservations I had.
Really?
Yes, they're doing exactly what they thought they would. It's slapstick. There's a dry sense of humor to the original Ghostbusters.
Mm-hmm.
It's good. They didn't need physical humor to make it funny in a good movie. This one, they're doing what Paul Feig, is that the director?
Paul Feig, yeah.
Paul Feig, he's doing what Paul Feig does, and he's doing it with Melissa McCarthy. They have their ridiculous physical humor portions of it, slapping the ghost out of her, which
Yeah.
And what makes me irritated is in the original Ghostbusters you have Ernie Hudson playing Winston, okay, and Winston plays a regular guy,
Right.
so they mirror the racial standards for this one with the 3 white girls and 1 black girl. But she can't just be a regular girl, can she? She has to be stereotypical.
Mm-hmm.
I got my Cadillac and slapped the hater. I was just, why? Why do we have to be a caricature? She ends
She
the
has a
necklace.
gold necklace with her name on it.
Oh,
Yeah.
that just it irritates the crap out of me.
I didn't notice that the first time I saw the trailer, and I was kind of jazzed about the trailer. Not really jazzed about it, but I was kind of cool about the trailer. I was kind of like, okay, this could be pretty good. And then a friend of mine pointed out, like, she's really stereotypical.
She is.
And I watched it again. I was like, holy crap.
I would have thought she would have been a Transformer in Transformers 2. But no, it looks visually cool. I guess the ghosts look cool, but the movie itself, it's going to be a typical Melissa McCarthy movie. It's going to be slapstick comedy, and it looks horrible. Mm-hmm. And I'm angry about it. I
don't know. Going into it, I'm gonna see it, and maybe we can do a review episode of it.
Yeah.
I was thinking about skipping it.
Really?
Yeah.
I'll force you to watch it.
I'll watch it.
I'm kind of like you said. The visual effects look like they'll be at least the best part of it for me. So it'll be cool. It'll be interesting to see. Cool. Tiny, what do you think of the Ghostbusters trailer?
The trailer had a substantial negative effect on my excitement and enthusiasm for the movie because I liked the idea of the all-female cast.
I don't have a problem with that. It's silly to be like, oh, they're all girls. No, that's stupid for you to have that kind of issue. That's not my problem. My problem is that you took a bunch of slapstick comedians and are making this movie. Yeah,
the first one had such subtle and just well thought out, intelligent comedy in it,
right.
And there was no semblance of that whatsoever in the trailer. I'm not saying it's going to be excluded from the movie completely, but it just did not inspire confidence in me at all.
There's something about, I think it's Kate McKinnon in the movie. I think she's the blonde in it.
Yeah.
Something about her that it seems like it'll be interesting because she does like a weird like facial like reaction in a scene in the trailer that like it seems like she'll be kind of an interesting kind of quirky character.
We'll see.
And it'll be, I don't know, it'll be interesting to me.
Who knows?
Yeah. Good.
Yeah. Look forward to our review. We'll drag Fekkes back to the episode, back to the podcast for it. Do you have anything else for Potpourri?
Nope, that's good. Okay. I think we're a little long anyway. So.
Yeah. Tiny, Potpourri.
I wanted to have a normal, regular movie to talk about, and I started to watch it.
So what did you get?
I started to watch it, and I couldn't finish it. But I did watch a documentary. If you had a nickel for every time I said that. This one is on Netflix. It's called A Faster Horse. It's about the new redesign of the new Ford Mustang. They followed along with the designers and documented the process. I thought it was really interesting. They talked a lot about the borderline mysticism of the Mustang. It's kind of the original muscle car, most successful muscle car. It's came out 50 years ago, and they've never not made one, and they're very, very iconic, and it's just Americana. And they talked about how they talked about the stakes of it, how if this redesign fails and people don't go buy Mustangs, it could lead to the collapse of the American economy. Because, you know,
Jeez.
I mean,
this seems awfully
I know
apocalyptic over a car.
Yeah, it sounded far-fetched, but they laid it out and I was like, oh my God, they kind of have a point. Like, so much is hinging on this being a success. And just to see what these engineers and designers go through to design the tiniest little metal pin on a car, they put hours into it. And it's just amazing. Think about all the moving parts on a vehicle. They design every single one of them for hours. And you get an entire car after a year or 2 years. It's just, it was very interesting seeing the process. And I'm not really a Mustang guy. I've always been more of kind of a Mopar guy.
Mm-hmm.
I even like the Chevys a little bit more. But Mustang is undeniably cool, and the new one they came out with is just slicker than hell.
It's sharp.
Mm-hmm.
It's sharp.
It looks like a predator in a stance getting ready to pounce on something. It's
awesome.
Really, really cool car. They did a great job. It's a cool documentary.
Nice. I haven't seen the new redesign of the Mustang or anything, but I remember back in, I think, 2005 when they did like kind of the throwback design. I was in love with that.
Yeah.
Or it might have been before 2005.
No, it was 2005.
Was it? Okay.
My brother bought one.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
I ended up buying a Charger, which was awesome, and I love it. I still have the car.
It gave me new respect for the Mustang overall.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Cool. So that's called A Faster Horse. How did you watch it?
It's on Netflix.
On TV.
Yeah, you said that.
On a television.
Jesus.
That's the kind of comedy you're going to see in Ghostbusters 2016.
Well, okay. So round up for Potpourri this week. We referenced it earlier. You had something to say, Fekkes, about the brony thing, but I'll go ahead and introduce what it is. I watched Zootopia last night, and I said something like I said earlier that my first sentence about Zootopia was going to have a very weird effect now that you brought up the brony kind of thing.
The furry.
The furry kind of fetish thing. But I thought Zootopia was freaking adorable, and I wanted to hug the crap out of the entire movie because everything was so cute.
Oh my God.
So what were you saying about bronies and furries?
All right, so I forget where I saw this, but apparently there was like a message board or like postings to furries, the furry group people, is saying to be appropriate when going seeing this movie because it's a children's movie.
Oh.
And like there's an online, warning to the furries like, hey, be appropriate when you go see this movie. So I picture all these furries going to the movie theater, like all these kids there, like kids are looking at these people dressed up in furry costumes. The furry guys look at the kids like, I guess I'll sit in the back row today.
To each their own.
That's disturbing.
That's not my thing, by the way. I'm not.
When they say be appropriate, are they talking about like appropriate attire or appropriate
behavior?
Yeah.
Do with that what you will.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
If you have to post something,
right. If you need the warms, like, hey, you can go see this kids movie.
Maybe wait till it hits my box.
I may go home and Google the phrase Zootopia theater arrests. See what comes up.
But no, Zootopia was a very charming animated movie. It's funny because before going into 2016, really, the two big animal, anthropomorphized animal cartoon movies this year that I've seen promoted is Zootopia and The Secret Life of Pets, which Secret Life of Pets comes out, I think, in July or maybe June. I'm not sure. But of those two movies, I was more excited for The Secret Life of Pets just from a concept because I love the idea. It seems
that movie looks good.
Yeah. And then in Zootopia, I kind of went into it, and as soon as I saw like the Disney logo, and I realized like, oh, this is a Disney animation movie. And I mean, Disney animation, apart from Pixar, has been pretty good. I loved Wreck-It Ralph.
Yeah, Wreck-It Ralph was great.
Oh, I adore it. That's one of the only. It is the only animated movie I own on Blu-ray that's not Pixar.
Wow.
Yeah.
Forgetting a little movie called Frozen.
I don't own that.
You should.
I know, but you're talking.
Oh
about...
yeah. In Frozen, I wasn't too crazy about. Never saw Kung Fu Panda, but I wasn't crazy about Frozen. And Big Hero 6 was good.
I didn't get to see it. I wanted to.
It was good. It was good. But Zootopia is probably my second favorite under Wreck-It Ralph. They might be close. Well, yeah, Wreck-It Ralph is a little better, I think. But man, this movie was so charming. I knew that I loved it because, okay, first of all, the whole setup of the movie is kind of brilliant. It's it's a bunny who dreams of being a police officer. Becomes a police officer, like a farm bunny, basically, from the outskirts of, like in farmland of this world. She goes to the big city and becomes a police officer in Zootopia, the big metropolitan city. And she's the first bunny that's ever been hired for the police force. And the moment that I knew that I loved this movie, and this was the only, the theater wasn't filled with a lot of people because it's been out for a few weeks, but I mean, there was me, a family, 2 rows behind me, a lone guy kind of toward the front.
Dressed as a fox.
Yeah. And then another family in the back row. And then a couple, an older couple kind of off to the side. And I was the only one to laugh like really hard at this joke. And I felt weird because I was there by myself. But there was a joke in the first scene. This isn't really a spoiler. In the first scene where she goes to her roll call, the captain, voiced by Idris Elba, doing his native accent, which was pretty cool. Nice. Very awesome. He says, and this is her first roll call, first bunny. She's been ridiculed her whole life and everything about wanting to become a police officer because knowing a bunny can't do that. He's like, I think we should address the elephant in the room. And then there's a pause, and then he says, Francine, and the camera moves over to an elephant, and he's like, happy birthday. And I was like, this movie just won me over. Like, they could do it, like this movie is my jam. And it didn't disappoint. It was very cool. There's a lot of interesting subtext and even social commentary about how, like in the world of Zootopia, they exist after the animals exist in harmony after evolving from predators and prey. So there's some stuff early on about bullying, but it's about how predators are kind of, there's a kind of xenophobia against predators and a fear about them, even though they live in harmony and stuff. It's basically just, racism and stuff like that.
Right.
And prejudice and everything. But it's packaged in just this, into the story and this world that's just so accessible to kids and just so, it doesn't beat you over the head with messages and themes and stuff like that. It's perfectly works within the logic of the entire story and the universe. And it's really well told and well done. By the end of it, it kind of got a little, granted, I was also tired. It was like, since I went alone, I made the point to go to a late showing because I didn't want to be the creepy guy alone at a kid's movie.
Right.
But
sitting abnormally close to the nearest
right.
kids.
My fox outfit. But
you want to share my popcorn?
Anyway, no. So I went to the screening, and by the end of it, it was kind of late, and it was kind of later, and I was kind of falling asleep. But the ride there was a lot of fun, and the animation was really good. There was also some cool references. There was at least one scene that was a cool reference to other Disney animated movies that was pretty funny.
Well, don't spoil it. I want to see it.
I won't.
Me too.
So I recommend checking out Zootopia.
The sloth scene alone has me hooked to go see it.
Such brilliant of them to it was brilliant of them to incorporate that into the teaser trailer. That was the entire teaser.
That had
trailer.
me sold to see the movie right there.
Oh yeah. And little known fact, that scene, the scene where the sloth is talking very slowly and very methodically and everything, Ghost directed by Zack Snyder.
Shut up.
No, I'm kidding.
I know you're kidding, but stop.
On that note, Fekkes, thank you for coming on to your 8th guest appearance on the podcast.
Thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always a pleasure to have you on. We'll have you on many times in the future as well. Next week, I don't know what we're doing.
Not sure yet.
We've kicked around some ideas. Don't know what we're doing, but I will make a pledge to the listeners that I will, for Potpourri, at least one of my potpourris will be The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
Nice.
Because that was picked
Oh,
out of the
wow.
bag
Yeah.
months ago, and then like stuff happened, like the Academy Awards thing, my family issues happened and all that. So we'll get back to that. So I'll review The Good, Bad, and the Ugly, and we'll have an episode topic that will
Everyone will love.
you know,
Be about something.
it will be about something. I think we're going to actually do a topic episode. So
I think
that'll
so,
be
yeah.
That'll be fun. It's been a while. So, having said that, thanks for listening, guys, and we'll see you next week, or you'll hear us next week, or something.
Thanks, guys.
He'll see you in your house in the bushes.
Jesus.
Dear God.
No. All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
God, she's so cute. This is Matt Hurt at Obsessive Viewer on Twitter.
This is Tiny at Obsessive Tiny on Twitter. Okay.
And this is ObsessiveViewer.com's The Obsessive Viewer Podcast.
No.
You suck. You suck. Move along.
Come on, pizza.
Move along. Literally stepping all on. Caps lock is on. And I think she managed to pause the recording, which is fucking hilarious.
I saw that. I'm so glad I'm recording in the H2N because that is going to be the tag.
Can I just press record again?
Yeah, just make sure the cursor is at the right spot.
Thank you for listening to The Obsessive Viewer, presented by ObsessiveViewer.com. You can find more of our episodes at ovpodcast.com, and you can subscribe to the show on iTunes, Stitcher, or your preferred podcast app. The Obsessive Viewer's theme song is An Eclipse of Events and is provided by Loudlike from their EP Mistakes We Must Make. You can find that and more great music from them on iTunes and like their Facebook page at facebook.com/loudlikemusic. Any and all feedback on the podcast is encouraged. You can email the hosts individually at Matt, Tiny, or Mike at obsessiveviewer.com, or send an email to the podcast in general at podcast@obsessiveviewer.com. Check out the Obsessive Viewer blog at obsessiveviewer.com, where we post movie and TV reviews and the occasional editorial about the business of entertainment. You can also like us on Facebook at facebook.com/theobsessiveviewer and follow us on Twitter at obsessiveviewer, at obsessivetiny, and at IamMikeWhite. If you want more obsessive content in your life, check out our sister site, obsessivebooknerd.com, for book reviews, author spotlights, and a general celebration of reading. Finally, if you're philosophically curious, check out Tiny's side project podcast, The Secular Perspective, which explores the concepts of faith, religion, and existence from the perspective of secular hosts. You can find that at thesecularperspective.com and subscribe to the podcast on the podcatcher of your choice. Again, thank you so much for listening. We love you. Be excellent to each other.